On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we got into a couple of topics. We had some fan questions we talked about, as well as a couple of news things. We had some Shrine Bowl talk because Mizzou had a bunch of players get named on the scouting list. The Tigers also landed a kicker prospect, Robert Meyer, as a preferred walk-on. So we hit on those things. And then we stuck on the special teams route. We talked about our kind of fear and what we're kind of expecting from the special teams this year and how dangerous it could be for Mizzou with some inexperience in that unit. So we talked a bunch of special teams. And then we also brought up a fan question regarding, scenarios in which Mizzou makes the SEC championship. And would you prefer that over not making it, but having a better seed potentially in the college football playoffs? So some good topics, talked for like 25, 30 minutes in an off-season episode. So plenty to dive into to start your weekend. And give us your takes down below what you think of the special teams in particular for Mizzou next season when we get to that segment. Had some good takes and stuff there. Finished with quick hits, had jerseys of the week, Shawnee Maine Birds, the best things we learned, got into a bunch of stuff, talked some Chase Daniel, talked some baseball, talked some Kobe Brown in the summer league. Obviously we had bird talk, UTSA. They got a fun little note. Had a big debate in quick hits about Prince Fielder. So if you're a throwback baseball fan, Prince Fielder, great name. Kenny and Payton got into it a little bit about him, and a friend of the program excelling with the Chicago Bears. So some fun topics and quick hits to finish off the show, but a great show nonetheless. Start your weekend. We're getting close to fall camp. It's all kicking off for Mizzou in the football world. So without further ado, the Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to the Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, July 26th, and we have a pretty short Mizzou segment. We had a bunch, obviously, of recapping we did from SEC Media Days, but that's in the books now, so we're kind of bridging the gap in this next week to when fall camp starts, gets underway very, very soon. We should have a bunch of storylines, but we're going to talk about just some general, kind of questions, outlook for the team headed into this season, but a couple of news things to hit on before that. Starting with, we got a watch list, or I guess a scout list for the Shrine Bowl, which is, of course, one of those kind of end-of-season showcase things. Mizzou had a bunch of guys make the Shrine Bowl. There's a list of 1,000 players that will be scouted, I guess, by the Shrine Bowl's various scouts. I would like to be a Shrine Bowl scout. If they need any volunteers, I could take, I don't know, however they divide it up, maybe by conference. It could be fun.
You could take the punters.
Yeah, I would scout kickers. That'd be fun. Anyway, Mizzou players who made the list: Brady Cook, Nate Noel, Marcus Carroll, Theo Wees, Mookie Cooper, Marcus Bryant, Johnny Walker Jr., Kristen Williams, Dalen Carnell, and Joseph Charleston. Peyton, Kenny, give me your thoughts. But first, yeah, that's right, I have a quiz. Who were the two players to make the Shrine Bowl last year for Mizzou?
Casey Carlisle.
Yep. And was Mevis the other, or was he in the Hula Bowl?
It was Mevis. Mevis backed out of the Hula Bowl for the Shrine Bowl.
Final answer?
Yep.
Yes.
Correct.
Right. Who was the third?
Was there a third?
A former
Ennis.
Mizzou guy.
Oh.
But Ennis was there, but he was there just to support JC.
Yeah. Was it like Trajan Jeffcoat or something?
That is correct. Trajan Jeffcoat was there. He had a good like practice too. I don't know if you guys remember. I think I made him either one of my birds or one of my jerseys one week because he was having like stellar practices and then never heard about him again after that.
Because I think he had a pretty poor combine, to be honest with you. And he went undrafted. I do believe he's on a team now. So, but my first impression of this list is Cameron Johnson, something to prove, man. He can't even get on the Shrine Bowl's top 1,000 list. That is disgraceful. Personally, I take big issue with that. But no, I mean, yeah, I mean, you mentioned, Knowlton, there's a lot of these end of season bowls. The Shrine Bowl's kind of that second rung, I believe, behind the Senior Bowl. So it'd be pretty cool to see a couple of these guys get there. Obviously, you would rather see them be able to grab the Senior Bowl, but for players like maybe Mookie Cooper, maybe Nate Noel, just someone that may not have that kind of buzz, it's good to see them get maybe that somebody's going to be watching them. But again, I think it's kind of silly that there's no Cameron Johnson.
Yeah. I don't know how much it'll change in the end, because when these scouts come to watch Mizzou, there's going to be more seniors on the field that they'll probably get eyes on as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I kind of think, if you're already looking at Marcus Bryant, maybe look one shoulder over, depending on how this offensive line shakes out, and you'll see Cameron Johnson. Thing I just want to throw out there about Trajan Jeffcoat is that he's a Saint. That's the team he's on.
Oh,
okay, yeah. I did. It took a second to click in my brain.
I don't know why that didn't process to me right away for some reason.
Tigers in the wild.
That was going to be my question, was of maybe this list or even someone who's left off of it, who would be maybe a player that you could see benefiting, because you always hear stories about they play well in the Shrine Bowl or the Senior Bowl, and then that causes them to get drafted or something like that. It's early, but if anyone sticks out, sounds like Cameron Johnson can maybe, if he gets his name on the list, could be one of those guys.
Payton, I kind of want to take this one first. I honestly would go Dalen Carnell. If he's not in the Reese's Senior Bowl already, because we're pretty bullish and high on him, and I think he kind of flies under the radar. And Peyton's brought this up because he doesn't really play a position that a lot of other guys play, kind of that hybrid star position. And so, if he has one of these one of these games, these practices to get eyes on him, I think he's going to be one of those guys that you just see blowing up on Twitter come, April when these camps happen, or March. So I think, I would lean Dalen Carnell.
I would actually say I don't think Dalen Carnell would be one I'd say, because I think, like you said, I think he's going to be someone that goes beyond the Shrine Bowl, quite frankly. I think he's a Senior Bowl level player. If he even needs to be in one of them, I think he should legit be a bona fide draft pick. I hope that Mizzou has a good enough season to where people take notice of guys like Dalen Carnell. Kind of the two I mentioned before, though, I think Mookie Cooper and Joseph Charleston are ones that could really benefit from being on a list like this, because they're guys that don't have a ton of draft buzz. They maybe don't have NFL measurables, but if they could get into the Shrine Bowl and kind of show out, I think those are the types of players that have maybe the highest, the most to gain from something like this, including Christian Williams is another one. But guys like Dalen Carnell and Brady Cook, I honestly would expect them to be more Senior Bowl caliber guys. Maybe throw Theo Weiss in there too. But if Dalen Carnell is unfortunate and doesn't grab the Senior Bowl, then you're absolutely correct, Kenny.
Well, I think you also have to factor in, there are guys that go into these that are bona fide draft picks, and then they just increase in, it's just immenseful, how they just increase their stock. And I think that's where I kind of lump Dalen Carnell in there, because he's a guy that not playing a position that a lot of people are playing in college football right now. And then you give him an opportunity to go in front of all these scouts and kind of play at the linebacker position, safety, slot corner, just depending on where they want to put him. And I think that's a guy who's just going to catch a lot of eyes that week. And that's where I kind of lump him in, like a guy like Darius Robinson this last year, or Isaiah McGuire a couple years ago, who kind of had some good practices. The game didn't really go his way, but Darius Robinson was a good example of that last year. And I think that's where I kind of compared Dalen Carnell going into this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And obviously, he could have the chance to do that at the Shrine Bowl, at the Senior Bowl, whichever one it is. It could be a stock booster. We are a Dalen Carnell podcast. We do have high hopes for him. He's one to watch for us for Mizzou. But there you go, a bunch of guys on the scout list for the Senior Bowl, and then other news going, I guess, away from the seniors to a future newcomer for Mizzou. Robert Meyer, the Tigers landed as a preferred walk-on commit. He is, I don't know why I didn't write this down. He's a kicker. I got confused for a second if he was a punter or a kicker. He's a kicker. He's ranked as a 5-star recruit on this website, Chris Saylor Kicking. Chris Saylor actually looks like a 6-star that he gives to some of his scouts. So, you know, I guess it's a 4 or 5-star. Kicker rankings are weird. I don't know if you guys have too much comment on this, but I do have a question about this year's special teams. I'll let you guys give any thoughts though on Meyer. I'll read this to you too from Saylor. He gave some analysis. He said, Robert is an outstanding high school kicking prospect. He's a great looking athlete with a live leg. Robert does an excellent job on field goals. He hits a pure accurate ball off the ground, has a 55+ yard range. His kickoffs are strong. He drives the ball 65+ yards with a 4.15 plus time. I don't actually know what that last part means. Also a very talented punter. So any thoughts on Robert? I do have a special teams question for this season, but the Tigers getting looks like a good future kicker down the line.
Yeah, find the link, man. Let's link up. Link strikes again, however you want to say, etc., etc. It does seem like Mizzou always puts a heavy emphasis on special teams recruiting. Kenny could tell you all about Mizzou's long snapper competition. Or just what the situation of that room is. I personally don't care that much about special teams. Most of the time, if I see a kicker, I'm hoping it's to add 1 point on to the end of a drive, not 3. But yeah, I mean, Blake Craig, like we mentioned, was a big time recruit. Harrison Mevis was a big time recruit. For as much flack as I give Erik Link, I'll give him his flowers. He gets guys that have a lot of buzz recruiting wise behind them.
Yeah, it's good too to go out of the state and try to find that best talent. Sometimes you just end up in Kansas City or St. Louis and grab a punter or kicker there to build out your depth on special teams. But Robert Meyer is from California. If you remember Jack Stonehouse, who comes from a long punting family, so there is a lot of tradition there behind his name. He's also from California, so it's good that Erik Link is going out there and finding some of these best kickers and punters. The only thing is he just can't really let them leave. Jack Stonehouse was a pretty good punter for Syracuse this past season. He got a scholarship there. He wasn't going to get it with Mizzou, and Mizzou had punter problems last season. So I get Robert Meyer on campus after this upcoming season for the class of 2025, see if he can develop into someone behind Blake Craig. And I think you just keep kind of building on that foundation that Mevis set in the last couple of years.
So that's where I want to segue, and we have a general team question from a friend of the program too to talk about with this year's special teams. I was thinking about this last night just on my own. Like I started to, when I was thinking about Mizzou and this year, get the flashback to, and you guys probably remember better than I do, that one year that the Chargers had like one of the best offenses, one of the best defenses in the NFL, and their special teams was just horrible, and they didn't make the playoffs. I was kind of looking at Mizzou special teams and Payton, this is maybe where you get the chance to bash Erik Link if you want. I look at it, you have Blake Craig at kicker, who's a sophomore. I think he only played in like 3 games last year. You have to place Harrison Mevis. Kenny, you mentioned the punter problems. They got Orion Phillips from Murray State. Luke Bauer is coming back, who, we love Luke Bauer. He's a hero of the program and the hero for the team, but it was inconsistent last year. We talked last show about punt return and kick return, whether you have Luther Burden, who do you go with there? Kenny's favorite position, long snapper, Brett LeBlanc's going to come back, so maybe you're pretty solid there. How do you guys assess the special team situation? Like, it's an often ignored part of the field, but every coach will tell you, it's pretty important and a crucial part to winning football games. Mizzou feels shaky to me in that region of the field. What do you guys think, when you hear those names and like looking ahead to how maybe impactful special teams can be negatively next season?
I mean, quite frankly, it's been probably the weakest area of the team the last 2 years because it just kind of looked like the worst coach group on the team. I'll just keep it a buck with that. I mean, realistically, every year, no matter what team you are, you have a game or two that can come down to a field goal every year. And this year, Mizzou, the last few years, had one of the biggest legs in college football at their disposal, just figuratively and literally. And I mean, it won them games last year. I mean, they won Florida because they had a reliable kicker. Most kickers will make that Florida field goal, but Mevis he's shown it's not 100%, no matter how close you are. And the Kansas State game, I mean, no, don't even need to go that in depth on that. Blake Craig is almost certainly going to find himself in a situation this year where he's going to have to make a really big field goal. And last year, Mizzou got a lot of things to break their way, and that's what it took to have a 10-2 season. They're going to need to be 100% like smoothed out on all areas of the field again if they're going to accomplish everything that people hope they can this year. And Blake Craig is going to almost certainly have a field goal that either ties or wins the game as time expires or close to it this year. So I hope he's ready for the moment. I have faith. He's had 2 years to kind of just get acclimated to the college game. He was a high-rated recruit, but that's going to be one of the more like. I'm glad you brought this up, Knowlton, because that's one of the more under-talked about points on this team.
Well, see, and Kenny, if I can jump in for a second, like that's where the concern level raises for me. Like you guys know, a Craig the Leg. I've been trying to throw in the nickname there, but yeah, I mean, you did have a guy in Harrison Mevis who could make really long field goals, and when drives get killed, he could kind of resurrect them and get you points out of that. And yes, the punter problems. We'll see how Phillips does. Maybe Luke Bauer improves. But I think about like the Kentucky game they lost a couple of years ago on that crazy punt sequence that ultimately was kind of down to some ref ball. But I don't know. They're like, I guess Payton. Before Kenny, I'll let you weigh in here too. Give me a level 1 out of 10. 10 being the most concerned, 1 being the least concerned with special teams next year.
You want me to go first? Okay, go ahead.
Kenny, you can give yours after, and you give your spiel.
I'll probably go like a 7 because I have no real faith in the punting situation. Mizzou has not really shown a capability of getting it right the last couple of years. Stonehouse, when he was at Mizzou, was a mess, and then he went to Syracuse and was an all-ACC punter. So you connect the dots there, find the link to what could be the disconnect there. I'd have to say like a 7 or an 8 because I hope Blake Craig is good. He maybe should be good. I mean, I've seen no one say that they expect him to be bad or that Mizzou will have a kicker problem, but we haven't ever seen him take a field goal attempt for Mizzou.
All right, Kenny.
Yeah, I think it's good to take off the blinders of coming off of a BCS a New Year's Six bowl win. I think there's a lot of there's still holes on this team, still question marks around certain positions, and it's good you brought up the special teams unit. One thing I've always liked about Blake Craig is that you don't see this very often, but he was an early enrollee in the class of 2023. So that's always a good sign there. And he played last year. He tried to get some of those kickoffs because Mevis wasn't getting him very too deep into the end zone, and there were opportunities there for the other team to return it and pick up some extra yards. And he probably just didn't have the leg yet. But he's a sophomore. He's technically the sophomore standing in the classroom now. So that's his second year. He was on campus early. He's very good connection there with the long snapper and Brett LeBlanc. We saw him playing basketball once, and maybe just to throw a joke in there as well. I've been playing NCAA 25 recently, and that kicking meter is a bitch. Like, I mean, it is hard. So I think I can understand why it's hard to kick in some of these atmospheres, but
great comparison.
Yeah, but I mean, at the college, it's he's still a young guy, and that's the thing. It's like when Mevis was there, it just always felt like Mevis had that leg up. He was just always, he had the physique. He had a different physique. He just looked like he was ready for that competition early on in his college career. So you just want to see how that kind of shakes out. Good thing you don't play many SEC teams at the beginning of the season to try to iron out some of these kinks, but. I never like going into a season with a punter battle again. So that I hope somebody kind of steps up at that position. And, if Orion comes in as is it Missouri Valley? Is that where?
No, Murray State.
Yeah. What is that? Like
revenge game.
Ohio Valley. Yeah.
Ohio Valley. So yeah, he was a all conference honorable mention, I believe. So maybe there's, something there that he can kind of step up and take the punting duties.
Payton remembered that he wasn't even all conference. He wasn't actually on a team.
I find it a little absurd that an SEC program cannot find a punter after 3-4 years. I mean, I don't remember the name of the guy in 2020. It's not coming to me for whatever reason. He was pretty good. But since then, it's been about a revolving door at that position. And it's, oh my God. I mean, I have nightmares about the 2022 competition because Stonehouse eventually won it pretty much by default. And he was not good when he was at Mizzou. I mean, it was just, and last year, Ryan Williams almost immediately became clear he was not the guy. Luke Bauer stepped in. He had the fake punt, but as you mentioned, Knowlton, not consistent at all. And he got replaced again by Ryan Williams. And Ryan Williams actually had his best game against Ohio State, and then he transferred the next day. So, God, an Ohio Valley honorable mention is kind of what Mizzou is banking on right now. That is, I'm sorry, I don't have confidence in that.
Yeah. Well, so Payton, you gave it a 7. Kenny, what's your
after hearing that fact and remembering that, I'm bumping it up to a 9.
Okay, so Payton's
I'm gonna
at a
stick
9.
at 7.
Okay, Kenny's at a 7. Yeah, I just think, and this by no means was perfect when we're talking about the kicking game either. Like, he did miss those short ones, but it was one of those things where you felt if drives died early into plus territory. We're looking at Orion's numbers. What were they? Read them out, Kenny. Read them out.
He had 52 punts and averaged 43.5 yards per punt. He was an all Ohio Valley Conference honorable mention selection and a semifinalist for the FCS Punter of the Year in his freshman season with the Racers. So he was a freshman.
Yeah, he is only a sophomore too, but like that doesn't help. Like I don't really love that Mizzou's 2 options are 2 sophomores. I mean, granted, Phillips has a little more experience, but they're, young. That's a position that it's all mental. I feel like that having some experience matters there, but yeah. Well, I'm glad I brought that up. I'm very curious. I think of, I look at like in Alabama, they replaced their kicker with the guy who won the Lou Groza Award. Like Mizzou needs to start getting to that kind of level when it comes to replacing like specialists. So
Payton, the punter you were thinking about in 2020 was the Kentucky transfer, Grant McInnes.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, that's right. I almost said like Gavin McKissick or something like that. So I just didn't have. I had it fuzzy in my brain.
McKissick.
And who did Stonehouse compete with again? It was the guy that did the kickoffs. I remember, like the designated kickoff guy.
Yeah, I remember one time in 2020, he like fist bumped or gave like a head nod to the scout from the Buccaneers that was on the field, and I was like, oh, that could be something, and it never really came of anything. I'm gonna look it up. If you guys keep talking, try to remember his name.
Needless to say, and it's funny you brought the punt that Mizzou got flagged for, Knowlton, because that honestly was like the second dumbest thing Mizzou did on a punt that game, because Jack Stonehouse dropped the snap on a 4th and 2, and instead of picking it up and punting it away, he tried to run 15 yards for a first down and did not get it, and it led directly. Special teams completely lost that game for Mizzou. I've said this a million times, and I'm going to get on this rant again. That Kentucky could not move the ball all day, and Erik Link, because it was windy outside or something, just didn't have faith in his guys kicking it out of the end zone. So they kept giving Kentucky short fields, and Kentucky, what do you know, scored 3 times on short fields and won the game.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a thing. I think it's just important to bring up. Again, I circle it all the way back to the Chargers. They didn't make the playoffs. They had like the best offense, best defense, bad special teams.
A lot of this will get masked. Hopefully we don't see the punters much this year, but a lot of this will just get masked if Blake Craig is a legit kicker.
Yeah.
Then we won't really have any issues.
Sean Ketting.
Sean Ketting, that's right.
Oh my goodness.
They let him punt for like a game, and they were like, "Oh my God, no."
Yeah.
Who's gonna kick off?
Stonehouse, you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Dark days. So there you go. I mean, we'll probably talk special teams a little bit more. I'm sure we'll get some stuff in fall camp about.
Let's hope not.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, I'm sure we'll get some things about how Blake Craig is doing, how the punter battle is going. So it'll be brought up again. But yeah, some question marks there. Okay, before we go to quick hits, we had a listener question. Shout out friend of the program, Mari. Congrats on her new position. Payton, can you help me out? Where did she get hired again? Basketball coach?
Don't put us on the spot like that, man. It's a new team. We're trying to get used to the new team. We were with Prairie Valley before, and we have a new women's basketball team to root for.
I'll find it.
It's in Palatine. I know that.
Yeah, New Illinois.
Harper Hawks women's basketball.
Harper College. Yeah.
Harper.
Yeah. Harper.
Yeah, Harper College.
All right, so we're all Harper College. While I ask this question, I'll look up what the record was last year, and we can circle back to that at the end. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about, because Mara did have a question. She was catching up on the podcast, and she asked this, and this is an interesting. I just heard this today. People have kind of talked about this with the realignment and the new playoff stuff, and the SEC championship maybe not being as big of a thing when teams can lock up playoff spots, ahead of time and stuff like that. So she asked, do you guys think it's better for Mizzou to be in the SEC championship or be 10-2, 9-3, and not playing in the championship, but up for the playoff, like they're in the playoff automatically? I'll hang up and listen. I appreciate the end of that question. I like the longtime listener, first time caller. Shout out Mari for that. What do you guys think? Because I think this is something that's debated by teams kind of in Missouri's position, where obviously, they haven't been to the SEC championship game in a number of years. I think we'd all think it would be really cool. But at the same time, could it have a chance to hurt your playoff standings? What do you guys think of Mari's question?
For one, I don't think 9-3, no matter what you do, is getting you in the playoff, especially with Mizzou's schedule. I think 9-3 kills you. 10-2, if you're 10-2 and you're Mizzou and you're sitting at like number 10 or number 9 in the nation, you are kind of on that edge. And if you, in theory, go into the SEC title game and get blown out, we've seen it before, a title game directly impacting the playoff. The very first one, the 4-team one, Ohio State beat Wisconsin down so bad they couldn't deny Ohio State. They put them in. Sorry, Knowlton, 59-0. But so, in theory, if Mizzou gets blown out, they'd probably fall out of the playoff, which would be a disaster. That said, man, I'm a firm believer in go for broke and win an SEC title. I think it would mean so much to even be in that game, especially nowadays, where it's harder to get in. It's not just divisions based. That would mean so much for the program. And realistically, I think if Mizzou goes in and let's say they play Georgia and they lose, I mean, and they lose, let's say 27-24. I don't think Mizzou gets bumped out of the playoff for that. I don't think you'd have to really go and lay an egg in the SEC title game to get bumped, I think, if you're Missouri. So me personally, I would always take a path that involves making and giving yourself a chance to win the SEC. I think that is, if you remember when we had Moon Choi on for the first time, he said, we're going to win championships at this university. He didn't say, well, we're going to go 10-2 and get the 9 seed and make the playoff and then maybe win a playoff game. They want to win. I think Eli Drinkwitz would have the same mindset as what I'm saying right now, personally. Maybe not, but I think winning an SEC title genuinely means a whole lot. And I would take that. Plus, if Mizzou wins, they'd almost certainly be given one of the first 4 byes. So they'd have a even easier path to get to the national title.
Yeah, and it's also just one game. It's a lot easier than playing multiple games in a bracket style contest when you go into the playoffs. So I think it's been a decade. We were children the last time Mizzou was in an SEC championship. So maybe coming from our end, it's maybe a little bit different for some, but I think for a lot of people, they want to see that Mizzou hasn't won I don't even know. I didn't even look it up. Probably someone should look it up real quick.
The 60s.
The 60s, yeah. The last time Mizzou has won a conference championship in football. It would just mean so much to the program, so much what Drinkwitz has built, Drinkwitz and his staff. And I just think that's where you kind of lean. You want that SEC championship. You want to put that on the brick, put that maybe even somewhere else, just on the field next in the 2025 season. I think that's just where your heart goes. You want that SEC championship.
That's a good thing you bring up, Kenny. How do you honor that if Mizzou does win the SEC championship? What cool thing do you do?
1969 was the last one they won. And if you remember at Faroe, they have the division titles up there where they have the SEC East titles and the Big 12 North and all that. I think the way you honor that, like winning the SEC, is you like put those down a little more on the press box and you put a giant SEC champs thing right above it. Because, I mean, that is truly, like, aside from the national title, winning the SEC is the pinnacle of college football. It's the best conference in the sport. I'm sorry, Knowlton, I know you're a Big Ten fan, but
no. Yeah. The SEC is far better than the Big Ten. I'm not. I do love my Big Ten, but yeah.
Yeah, the SEC is the pinnacle of the sport. Winning that title game, even if you go to the playoff and lose, that I would not come out of that year saying, well, that's kind of a disappointment, because winning the SEC is that big a deal. I mean, nobody besides Alabama, Georgia, and sometimes LSU, and even more occasionally Auburn, is even in that game.
Yeah. I think you make a really key point there. It's like, when it comes to like losing in the playoff, if you're not going to win the playoff, I'm not going to be disappointed about a season when you win the SEC and lose in the first round of the playoff. I'll be disappointed in a season where you don't win the SEC and lose in the semifinal of the playoff. Like, yeah, you maybe go farther in the playoff, but you have a title. Banners fly forever. We always say that. Kenny, did you have any unique way? Do you think Payton nailed it with how you'd honor an SEC banner?
Isn't there an SEC logo up there? Or is it on the other side? Does it face towards
I honestly
Providence?
don't remember.
I don't remember. But
I think it'd be cool though. I think maybe some style to it as well. Whatever like the
flair.
SEC title game logo looks like for this upcoming season, kind of give it some flair, make it stand out, and put it on the field. Put it on the helmets. Let everyone know.
Helmet, yeah.
While there's construction,
I agree.
going
Go
on.
overboard with this. This is Mizzou we're talking about, all right? We got to know our place in the world. If Mizzou won the SEC title, I would genuinely say you should put a whole board up in the stadium, like a big board. Put the logo, the Mizzou logo, and the score next to the logo of the team you beat and the score for all I care. Make it a huge deal that you won it.
I would enjoy like what they do for the two teams that go to the NBA finals, where they change their logos to gold. For that entire next season, Mizzou just has like a bright gold Tiger logo on their helmet for every game until they lose. And then it gets passed to the next team. New tradition. And the next team that wins.
Major League Baseball does that too. They do a gold outline on the team's logo for the first home game.
See, do that. I would like that. I would enjoy it. The other thing I was going to throw in too, like organizationally too, like Payton was saying, I think back to even last year where Georgia loses to Alabama in the SEC title game. And because of it being a 4-team playoff and the way things shook out, Georgia, there were people who could argue they were the best team in the country, were denied the playoff and a chance to go, because of how things shook out. Now in the 12 team, there's less of a risk of going to that championship, losing, and then something bad happening. So I think you guys nailed it. I think we're pro SEC. We're pro titles here on this podcast.
That was a similar question. Gabe DeArmond for Power Mizzou asked it, and it made its way to Twitter. Would you rather Mizzou, like we mentioned, be in like the SEC title game and like win it and maybe get the bye in the playoff, like you go straight to the New Year's 6th round, or would you rather them have a home playoff game? I would take the SEC title and bye game like immediately. I know a lot of people did not feel that way. I think Gabe himself said he'd rather see Mizzou host the home playoff game. But
see, I think that has fun aura for 1 year, and then if Mizzou's going to consistently be in the playoff conversation, that's way less. But I feel like the chances that Mizzou wins the SEC again are even less than them hosting a home playoff game.
Plus, you got to think of it like this: like, what Mizzou would be playing for in the home playoff game is a chance to play in the game where they would be if they won the SEC.
Right.
So
Right.
I would take the SEC title almost over everything.
Do you agree? Do you have a take, Kenny? Do you agree? Or is that
Yeah, I
other way?
agree with that.
Yeah.
I think I would just take the SEC title game no matter what. Just playing in
Yeah.
Atlanta, I think there's just nothing you can beat there. I haven't been there in a decade.
Yeah. I would agree. I would agree. All right, we're pro titles. So there you go. Mari, I hope that answers your question. Also, Harper College, to segue all the way back, they're ushering in a new era. They went 3-23 last season. So, Mari's got a rebuilding job to do a little bit, but they're in good hands. The Hawks are in good hands.
It's up from here.
Yeah. It's only up.
I hope
All
everyone enjoyed on the YouTube. Robert Meyer was our photo for this whole conversation. He'll be a part of that maybe in a couple years.
Yeah. We'll come back and revisit it, and it'll just be Robert Meyer. Yeah, maybe he'll be the kicker in the playoff in the SEC championship game. All right. Well, there you go. There's some general Mizzou stuff. Like we said, we'll get more into fall camp stuff as that starts to roll around. But for now, we'll finish the rest of the show with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time to finish up the show. We will start out with our jerseys of the week. Get to shout out some former Tigers here. Kenneth, what is your jersey of the week, good sir?
My jersey of the week goes to Trevor Austin, who was an infielder, outfielder for Mizzou baseball the last 4 years. He signed a UDFA contract with the Houston Astros on Wednesday. So that's the second former Mizzou player that's going to the Astros this year. Bryce Meyer was a 16th round pick, day 3 pick for the Astros. Still hasn't officially signed with Houston, but seems like they're still expecting him to. I told you guys I would get a little bit more information, realized that the scout that I know for that area is like cut right at the bottom of the state, so he doesn't even go all up to Columbia. But something about Trevor Austin is that he played in 54 games twice in his last 2 seasons, so Mr. Consistency. He batted .297 with a 1,001 OPS this year. Not a big guy on the base paths, but had some good numbers offensively, and good luck to him on the pro circuit.
Would you get his jersey if he made the majors, Kenny?
That's a good question because there hasn't been a Mizzou guy in the majors for the Astros in my lifetime. So probably our good friend Peter Zimmerman was an Astro for a little bit, kind of got the short end of the stick there, and still rooting for him. He's having a good time in indie ball right now, but hope he does get that affiliated opportunity someday.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kenny, you just can't stay away. You're going to always have Mizzou ties with the Astros. You got 2 now. So there you go. Yeah, congrats to Trevor. Hope he does well. Payton, your turn. Jersey of the week.
Look, it's Chase Daniel doing media things again. He just continues to crush the media sphere. He is going to be calling Pac-12 games on the CW network this year. It was a press release sent out by the network. Of course, the Pac-12 is only the Pac-2 now, but in games with Oregon State and Washington State, he is going to be the booth analyst along with Emmy award-winning announcer Ted Robinson for Pac-12 games this season. So super cool. Like I said, I mean, Chase Daniel's a busy, busy man. I mean, he had a plan for after football life. A lot of guys don't. He very clearly did. And it's to do Mizzou proud and become insanely busy digital media guy.
We should throw out too that he has the podcast, right? With
we already had this on a quick hit.
Did we? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That might have been one.
Show up to the show, Jack.
Yeah. No, I'll take that one on the chin. That's fair. All right, I'm shouting it out because I wasn't here to do it, so I'll take that one. So, yeah,
congrats Chase Daniel in the news again.
Yeah, congrats to him. He also he has like some of the funniest like tweets about Mizzou. My favorite forever will be I'm pulling a Chase Daniel summer, and it's the like mug of him before his like senior year, and he's like, "This is what you need to do: go to Harpo's too much and drink a lot of Keystone Light, and then win the Heisman, or go to the Heisman Trophy ceremony."
Yes, almost win the Heisman.
So baller. All right, my jersey of the week to finish that segment out is Kobe Brown. The summer league wrapped up. Kobe Brown did pretty well. The Clippers, unfortunately, did not win. He said the goal was for them to win the summer league crown. I believe they lost in the semifinals to the Memphis Grizzlies. But just for some stats for you guys, Kobe Brown in 5 games in the summer league, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 49% from the field, only 22% from 3. We're going to ignore that. 0.4 steals and 0.8 blocks per game. So pretty good. He also had a really good game against the Jazz recently. 22 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and a block, shooting 7 for 14 from the field and 8 for 10 from the free throw line. So just wanted to shout out our boy Kobe. I'm sure Ben Sternberg is very happy for his guy as well. Hopefully should be a good Clipper fans, I think, like him. There's been another guy named Jordan Miller who's been really, really good, who's kind of taken the spotlight for them in the summer league. But I think Clippers fans like Kobe, so hopefully he has another nice two-way season for the Clippers. Rebranded too. New look.
Yeah, it looks terrible, but Kobe Brown did well, so I mean that's cool. Yeah, I mean Jordan Miller, I believe, was their second round pick when Kobe Brown was the first rounder. So it seems to be a pretty strong draft class.
Yeah. Good luck to the Clippers. I did see some stuff. Their new the new stuff around their new stadium seems pretty cool. But yeah, I don't like their rebrand. I don't like
God, I miss Kobe Brown. I missed him just backing a dude down and like just bully balling his way to the hoop, or then shooting a three and like shooting 40% from three in his senior year.
I like no capping. He's the main bird.
Main bird.
I'm giving that one for
no.
Kobe
I like
Brown.
no capping. He's the main bird.
That one's for switching the segment. All right, Shawnee's main bird of the week after Peyton's done reminiscing. Kenny.
My Chinese main bird of the week is Shane Ray, who signed with the Tennessee Titans. The fiery thumbtacks is that what that logo looks like? But
yeah,
hard to believe. It's been a long time since Shane Ray was drafted back in the mid 2010s. But he had a good run in the CFL. Didn't play in the title game in the Grey Cup because I think he had a shoulder injury of some sort, upper body injury. So he had a good run there. Got to play for the Bills right after that. And now he's going to continue kind of his resurgence in the NFL with the Titans. Of course, you probably do remember him as a Bronco if you're watching on the YouTube. You can see him in that Broncos jersey. But good for Shane Ray to find his footing again in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, Shane Ray, I mean, it's been so long since he's been drafted. I mean, he had the dagger touchdown in the last Cotton Bowl that Mizzou was in before the Ohio State one. It's been that long. Gus Johnson on the call going, Shane Ray! Yep. But yeah, very cool to see him latch on to Kenny's Oilers. Super cool to see. Hope he does well. It's been quite the journey for him football wise, but cool to see him get another opportunity.
Can't wait for that bit to come back in football season. It's gonna be great. My favorite, I like the top reply to the tweet that says, "Never heard of this guy before, but I'm going to go ahead and say Super Bowl is back on just in case."
I don't like that.
Why? Oh,
how do you not know who Shane Ray is?
That's a good point.
These youngins today.
Yeah, these kids.
Earl
Dylan
Campbell was
Walker.
a Titan.
He was.
Also, I figured you said you didn't like that because you don't want the Titans to win the Super Bowl. But
also understandable.
They're not going to.
Which is very fair. They're not going to.
Is there any team more boring in the league than the Titans? I am so I don't dislike
Seahawks?
the Titans.
No,
the Titans.
They're not boring.
They're just
Seahawks,
there,
probably?
and I just don't care about them.
Seattle.
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, no Pete Carroll anymore. Geno Smith is the QB. Like, who cares?
This is bullshit. We're moving on. Seahawks are not boring. All right, my main bird of the week is
main bird of the week.
Jesus, I wanted to skip you after what you said, even though Kenny said it.
Mm-hmm.
No, go to Payton's.
My main bird of the week is going to be the UTSA Roadrunners. Meep meep. Because as you can see, if you're watching on the YouTube, this tweet from the Sickos committee points out they are playing every owl in FBS football this year. They have Kennesaw State in week 1. They got Rice and Florida Atlantic back to back in the middle of the year. And then their second last game of the year is going to take on Icy Vert's Temple Owls. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a real bird battle. And they have North Texas, whose logo is a bird. So lots of bird battles for the Roadrunners this year.
I like it. Kenny, you have anything to add to the bird battles?
I mean, Rice and Florida Atlantic, you're going to make me tear up having them back to back. Those are my two teams.
It's a dream schedule.
This feels like Mizzou playing all the Tennessee schools.
This is kind of a crazy schedule. At Texas State on a little back-to-back, at East Carolina, at Rice, and then Florida Atlantic.
You don't see teams play schools inside their own state. This is awesome to see.
No, I kind
Yeah,
of like it.
3 of them, 4 of them. Man,
think
that is a cool
5.
schedule. Yeah.
They
Wait, where's the
finished-
5th one?
North Texas,
Oh, Houston
Rice,
Christian. Oh
Houston
my God,
Christian,
5.
Texas, and Texas State.
Love it. Bring geography back to college football. UTSA is doing it one game.
In a
at time.
world of, in an ocean of conference realignment, the UTSA schedule is our rock.
Someone was talking at SEC Media Days about that Texas game. Apparently UTSA, like the buzz around there is that they're going to be really good. And people are like, they might go into Texas and give them like a game. Like someone was actually like trying to argue that. I was like, all right, go
No
Road
offense,
Runners.
Texas, UTSA, but Texas will
UTSA,
win that game when they're ready to win that game.
They went 11-1 like 2 years ago, didn't they? With Reek Woolen?
Yeah, with Frank Harris at QB, who was like
Yeah.
27 years old.
It's just the cheat. Yeah, shout out Owls. Had to do that one for the bird, Payton. Good job. My main bird of the week is going to Harry Douglas. If you don't know who Harry Douglas is, now he's an analyst, but Bird Connection, a former Louisville Cardinal and Atlanta Falcon in the NFL. So there's your bird connections for you. He was on First Take, everyone's favorite ESPN program, with Stephen A. Smith. They were talking about Alabama, and Harry Douglas said he had Mizzou among, I believe, 4 other teams. I think he had Texas, Ole Miss, and Georgia, all above Bama. Stephen A. Smith, being the Stephen A. Smith that he is, freaked out and argued, how could you have Mizzou over Bama? So respect to Harry Douglas for knowing ball and putting the Tigers in their rightful place. The main thing that came out of this was that Stephen A. Smith said he didn't know who Luther Burden and Brady Cook were. So there you go.
Yeah. Now, look, man, I'm not saying if I had to pick, I would not pick Mizzou over Bama in the SEC standings right now. But, man, I know Stephen A. has a whole lot he has to juggle. Like, ESPN makes him basically a Renaissance man, and he has to know a lot of things. And for one, Brady Cook is one thing. I don't think a ton of people, like, I don't think he's nationally recognized. But, man, to not know who Luther Burden is, I mean, just look at a mock draft for once, like one mock draft next year. I think you should at least know who Luther Burden is. I would say most sports analysts would be able to tell you who that is. And I think it's a little silly that Stephen A. does not.
Kenny, how many games of college football do you think Stephen A. Smith watched last year?
Like entirely?
Sure.
Wasn't he go on he goes on one of the like pregame shows.
Does he do the Fox? No, he can't.
No. Like for whenever they went to like Tech or Florida A&M one time, and he was there for that game. And he was a part of like the pregame at the school.
Still might not have watched it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, he was right there for that game. I don't know if you watched it. One thing, bouncing back, Shane Ray, my connection to a bird. He played for the Ravens. Back to this. Stephen A. Smith's job is not to know everything. It's to make you mad and make you talk about it. So I'm not going to get overworked about this. It doesn't matter who he knows or what he knows. His whole job is just to get clicks and views on these tweets and just make people angry. That's the whole thing. It doesn't really matter if he knows someone or if he doesn't. He even says like after, he's like, oh, I know who those people are. And he probably doesn't, but I mean, who cares? He's getting millions of dollars to just make you angry.
It's a very mature take, Kenny, but I don't care because it still made me angry. No, I was hoping the unwritten rule would ratio this tweet. Appreciate the people who liked I just put that exactly, that he didn't know who he was, and got a good amount of love, but didn't beat the 858 likes that First Take manages to draw in. So get your Twitter check, Stephen A., and get ready to watch Mizzou, Texas in the SEC championship game next year. That's what I'll say. Yeah. Shout out Harry Douglas too, knowing ball. I also probably wouldn't put Mizzou above Bama at this point, but we'll see. It's gonna be a fun year. I was thinking about this. There are one of like Oklahoma, Tennessee, LSU, Mizzou, Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Texas. One of those teams is going to have to finish 8th in the SEC next year, which I think is just a interesting thing to think about when you put it that way.
It'll be Oklahoma.
I also hope it'll be Oklahoma. All right. Best thing you learned, Payton.
Best thing I learned this week. I hate the Brewers, but I thought this was cool. The son of Prince Fielder, Jaden Fielder, has signed with the Brewers organization. This is a bit of a old, like, oh wow, I'm old now moment. He's 19. He plays second and third base. Kenny, he wasn't a draft pick, I don't think, was he? He was just a UDFA.
Mhm.
So very, very cool still. It'd be cool to see him maybe make his major league debut one day. Hopefully not with the Brewers, though. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a trip down memory lane for me, back to my childhood. Prince Fielder's kid signing is nuts to me.
Make it even cooler, David Ortiz's son was drafted by the Red Sox, and Manny Ramirez's son was drafted by the Angels. His youngest son, not even Manny Ramirez Jr.
Jeez. We're old, guys. We're old. I too remember Prince Fielder. The person, the top reply on this tweet says is also old. He says, first athlete with a grandfather I remember watching play.
Cecil.
There you go. Yeah, Cecil. He could end up on the Tigers. I can make that compromise with you, Payton, if you don't want to see him on the Brewers.
Sure, that's fine with me. It's kind of nasty. I think that's everyone's third favorite Prince Fielder team, but
yeah. Yeah, not great. Yeah, shout out.
And he's thinking he
Rangers.
No, okay. Well, for you that makes sense.
Oh yeah, Kenny's Rangers.
Yeah.
I like him when he was on the Tigers. So that was a good era of the Tigers.
Yeah, it was a cool era, but it was kind of like he was underperforming his contracts. Like it just kind of got a little messy. You want to come back player of the year for the Rangers?
Look at how the Rangers era ended.
Well, it wasn't his fault.
Yeah, I mean, still, it was not a better era.
He won comeback player of the year.
He couldn't finish his career. That was a very terrible era for him.
I'm saying for like how people would like to look back on his memories. I
don't
would
think
say
they want to look at the Texas era with how it ended.
I don't know. He had a couple really feel good years in there.
He was a 2-time All-Star with Detroit.
Yeah, and they
finished
released
9th
him
in MVP.
Early. They released him way early.
Was right after an All-Star season.
All-Star, Silver Slugger. I guess that was Milwaukee, but MVP 9th. I would say that the Detroit era is a lot
he
better.
was better on Detroit. I'm not going to argue with that.
And how was he underperforming?
The Tigers wanted out of his contract. He didn't sign a 2-year deal with Detroit.
I don't think that counts as underperforming with how that finished.
Well,
it sounds like the Tigers gave up on him too soon. Not that he was playing bad.
They signed him.
Look at all these transactions.
They traded Ian Kinsler for cash and Prince Fielder. I did not know that they were traded for each other. That's sick.
Brought this up the other day on the show.
I knew that Ian Kinsler was traded from Detroit to or from Texas to Detroit. I didn't know they were traded for each other.
Left arm weakness and neck discomfort. Ooh, cook him. Prince Fielder debate.
When did you actually say this? I don't remember.
Yeah, because they were both a part of the staffs for the Futures game.
I actually feel like I also.
Oh, okay. I
think I remember this.
Yeah, okay, I do remember that.
I think his best era was in Milwaukee, but we can just move on.
Well, that's not even an argument.
We can just move on.
Unfortunately, yes, that is correct, Knowlton.
He was great first baseman.
Okay, wait. This will be my tiebreaker. Was he a Tiger when he tried to run down a foul ball and then he ate a guy's nachos? That famous clip. Because if he was, then I'll give the nod to you, Kenny.
Wasn't he a Brewer when he did that?
He might have been. That's kind of why I can't remember.
Oh, he's a Tiger.
Oh, okay.
All right, you win.
Even though the stats already said I won.
Yeah.
I didn't say he was better on Texas.
Hook him, Kenny.
You said he was underperforming. He was a 2-time All-Star.
He was released like 4 years
early. Not a
on
released
or traded.
They lose a lot of people.
Were really happy with that production. They would not have traded him away.
That's not how it always works. Juan Soto performs well with the Nationals, and they have to trade him. Like it's just like things like this happen. Yeah, that's something that the Tigers needed to do. They weren't gonna. They did not win the World Series. They got
swept by the Giants. Then why'd they get Ian
Giants.
Kinsler, not prospects?
I don't know. I mean, they just needed to fix something at second base. They got cash too.
I'm giving this round to Kenny. He convinced me.
Good player. Wasn't underperforming.
No, he was a good player. Those were good.
Then you can't say he was underperforming. That just doesn't make sense.
Well, he was for his contract. He was overpaid.
Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. He was a good player. He was playing very well for the Tigers.
I agree.
Do we want to do a baseball debate segment? I'll find some sort of hot button topic and just pitch it, and we'll see who comes out with a better argument. You guys can just take opposing views. So that was
No.
good.
Sure.
No,
If we have a dilemma where we don't see eye to eye like this one,
Kenny wants no part
even
of it.
though I'm giving the win to Kenny because the nachos clip
nachos
happened
clip.
in Detroit.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, it's settled. Kenny, what's your best thing you learned this week?
Best thing I learned this week, Tolton Athletics announced that former Missouri Tiger catcher Tre Morris will be the next head coach for the Tolton Athletic baseball program. A little bit of head scratcher to me right off the bat, because we know Tre Morris is from Columbia and he went to Battle. And maybe, I don't know if there's a hard rivalry between these two teams, with Tolton being the Catholic school, but they do play each other. And this will be maybe pretty fun for him to go back to Battle as a coach for Tolton. But I think if you're Battle, I think you would have wanted Tre Morris, on your staff at least.
Yeah, how will Battle welcome him back to Battle baseball field? I don't know what they have a name for their field. How will they welcome him back? Will he be warmly greeted or hit with booze? It's a hot button. If you're a Preps reporter, you gotta be loving life right now. This is a great storyline for next year.
Features gold mine to whatever
Yeah.
Missourian kid gets put on the Tolton beat. This is dynamite for you. You got Aaron Rowe and Tre Morris, the baseball coach.
Yeah, huge beat next. People are gonna be clamoring. We read it. All right, we're student reporters. We'll read your stuff if you're the Tolton beat writer listening to this show for some reason. Maybe they're getting their info from us because we talked about this. Send them the pod.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Especially considering you guys are both wrong about Prince Fielder's best era. Anyway, yeah,
we both agreed it was Milwaukee.
I know. I'm just messing. All right. Yeah. Shout out Tre Morris. That the Battle angle is just so funny. Local beef, and the two smallest Columbia schools as well with Tolton and Battle. But
That's crazy to think that Battle actually is one of the smaller ones, because it's not a small school.
it's also
either.
new. It's super new.
Yeah, it's brand new.
Yeah.
Or
It's a
not
nice-
brand new. It's probably past the brand point at this point, but
Yeah. It's a nice they have a nice football field. Shout out AFC
Mhm.
Columbia. They played their games there. All right. My best thing I learned this week, I'm going to be talking about Payton's Bears, because a friend of the program, Ian Wheeler, is apparently impressing with the Bears. Courtney Cronin tweeted a couple of Bears practice notes, one of which said, Ian Wheeler, former Howard running back and friend of the program. Please go listen to that interview if you have not. It's a great one of our favorites. Payton asked a lot of questions. Ian Wheeler, a UDFA running back from Howard, is fast. Cronin says he impressed with his acceleration and took reps with the twos. So Ian Wheeler, Payton, he might be making a roster with your Bears.
that'd be cool. I still feel really bad about missing that. Sorry, Ian, but I'm glad I didn't give you any bad mojo or anything in regards to Bears history. So he just came in with a blank slate, and look at him now, already getting runs with the twos. Yeah, I'm excited. He'll probably be someone that plays a ton in the Hall of Fame game. So
That'll be one to watch. Yeah. Kenny, any thoughts on this is your friend. You got us this interview, so you gotta be happy.
Eagle fight never dies. I never guessed or would have imagined how far Ian would have gone, because went to a private school. You don't really see many necessarily college athletes coming out of our school, but seeing someone at the pro level with Ian, and then our good friend Josh Wolf, who's now with the Giants, this is very cool to see. Ian, guy is scrappy. He does his job, puts his head down, and yes or no, sir. He's always been a blue collar kind of guy when it comes to
Lunch
these
pail.
sports, and lunch pail guy.
Football guy.
I remember I see him in the weight room. Dude was a beast in high school. So just very excited, very happy for Ian.
Yeah, congrats to him. Yeah, it was the first time I met him was on that interview, and he was just super great. So, yeah, hopefully he makes, and Payton will be watching him a ton if he makes the roster. So there you go. We'll have to try and have him back on or something. But congrats to Ian Wheeler for his work so far. Hopefully that continues for him. Also, I love that another note on a side, Payton, Jack Sanborn, almost a pick. Love to see.
yeah,
it.
he has T-Rex arms, so he misses a lot of interceptions.
Damn.
So
All right, that's all I had. Payton, you have a joke for us?
this is a good one, guys. I'm excited about this
The
one.
last one was bad. Kenny literally had to improve the joke.
Yeah,
So this one
but
better
this
be
is a good one. Guys, this one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show, by the way.
Play the video and not the nacho video.
Guys, how do you cook an alligator?
In a crock pot.
Yup, in a crock pot. That's
Whoa!
a banger. Banger. Here we go. Here's Prince Fielder grabbing a snack. It's a sliced fowl.
Yeah, radio
Prince
commentator.
Fielder trying to run it down. He can't quite do it. He wasn't known for his glove. As you can see here, grabbed a nacho and just ate it.
This is a great clip.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if this was Milwaukee or Detroit. He wins, and he wipes his mouth on the jersey.
I like that it says mid-game snack in all caps in the title of the YouTube video.
People got to know.
Good SEO. Well done. Oh, my God.
Oh, get that out of here.
Yeah, turn that description off. Nice. All right, that'll do it for the unwritten rule for another week. We hope you enjoyed your week or you enjoy your weekend. We'll be back Monday, inching closer to fall camp, where we'll have storylines galore, hopefully. And, you know, maybe we'll talk more kicking battles at that point. But until then, everyone take care. We will see you guys. We might have a Mount Rushmore on Monday, too. A little bit of a tease. We'll see. But until then, take care. We'll see you Monday.